Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking a close look at a really rich and frankly quite surprising chapter from the Bible, Isaiah chapter 42.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot going on.
It really does. This isn't just, a random collection of verses. It paints this vivid picture of a key figure described as a servant.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives us some really profound insights into God's character, his plans, themes like justice, judgment, restoration, but often in ways you might not initially expect.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating, I think, is how it holds these contrasting ideas together right from the start.
Like what?
Well, you get this quiet gentleness set right alongside, immense power. Or blindness versus sight. Even God being silent and then suddenly shouting, almost. He kind of challenges neat little boxes.
Okay, let's dive into that first bit then, the description of the servant. Yeah. God starts speaking, and the very first thing is, "Here is my servant whom I uphold, my chosen one in whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, and he will bring justice to the nations."
That's a lot packed into one sentence. What does that immediately tell us?
It's huge, right? First off, this servant isn't self-appointed. He's God's. God is upholding him, supporting him.
Okay.
He's chosen, delighted in. That points to a really close, favored relationship. And the key thing, God's spirit is on him. That's the source of his power, his ability to do this mission.
And the mission is justice.
Justice for the nations, not just one group, but global, which is massive.
Right. And you'd think, okay, global justice, here comes the thunder and lightning, the big pronouncements.
Exactly. That's what you'd expect.
But then Isaiah 42 just flips that. It says, he will not shout or cry out or raise his voice in the streets.
It's quiet.
And then that imagery, a bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. Wow. I mean, what do those images tell us about how he works, the kind of justice he brings?
It's such a paradox, isn't it? Justice usually makes us think of, well, crushing the opposition or being loud about it.
Yeah, asserting power. But here, the method is incredibly sensitive, careful, focused on the vulnerable. A bruised reed, it's already bent, fragile. One wrong move and it snaps.
Right.
A smoldering wick, just a tiny ember about to go out, easy to extinguish. And the servant doesn't. He doesn't finish them off. He preserves them. He nurtures that tiny bit of life or strength. It suggests a justice that's fundamentally about restoring, healing, patience, looking after the weakest, not adding to the damage.
It's strengths, but it looks totally different from worldly power.
Exactly. A quiet strength.
And yet, right after describing this gentleness, the text makes it clear he's going to succeed. It says, "In faithfulness he will bring forth justice. He will not falter or be discouraged till he establishes justice on earth."
See, that persistence.
In his law, the islands will put their hope. So the gentleness isn't weakness. It's paired with this absolute determination. He will get it done. Globally, even the distant islands hope in his law, his teaching. What's that link about?
It suggests his method and his message, his law, are tied together. The way he works is the justice. And that teaching, that way of life, it's not burdensome. It's what brings hope, especially to those far off or overlooked, like the islands symbolize. So the justice he brings is all about following his way, which is marked by that patience and restoration and his faithfulness. That guarantees it'll happen, no matter what.
And this whole description of the servant, it's immediately followed by God declaring who he is. The focus shifts.
Right back to the source.
This is what God the Lord says, "He who created the heavens and stretched them out, who spread out the earth and all that comes out of it, who gives breath to its people and life to those who walk on it." Why bring in this massive cosmic creation power right after the gentle servant?
It anchors everything. It tells you this gentle justice isn't some flimsy ideal. It's backed by the one who literally created everything and sustains all life.
Okay.
So the hope the servant offers isn't just wishful thinking. It's a certainty because the creator of the universe is behind him. It gives immense weight and authority to the servant's mission. His success is basically guaranteed.
And God spells out that relationship and role. "I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness. I will take hold of your hand. I will keep you." That phrase, "take hold of your hand," sounds so personal, so guiding.
It really does. Intimate support.
"And will make you to be a covenant for the people and a light for the Gentiles." What does it mean for a person to be a covenant and a light?
Yeah, being a covenant is interesting. A covenant is, a binding agreement, a relationship promise. So for the servant to be the covenant, it suggests he embodies God's promises. He is the living guarantee of God's faithful relationship with people.
Like a bridge.
Kind of, yeah, or the embodiment of the deal itself. And being a light for the Gentiles, that just broadens the scope again. Light means truth, understanding, salvation. He's bringing that divine insight not just to Israel, but to everyone else, the nations who were seen as outside that covenant, illuminating the path for those in darkness.
And the actual mission, the verbs used, to open eyes that are blind, to free captives from prison, and to release from the dungeon those who sit in darkness. How does that connect back to the gentle justice, the bruised reed idea?
It shows what that justice looks like in action. It's restorative. Justice here isn't only about punishment, it's about fixing the things that trap people. Blindness, spiritual or otherwise. Captivity, be literal or metaphorical. Opening eyes brings truth. Freeing captives brings liberation. These are the results of that gentle, persistent justice. It's about giving sight and freedom, empowering people by releasing them, not just ruling over them.
So after setting all that up, servant, creator, mission, God then makes this really strong exclusive statement. I am the Lord, that is my name. I will not give my glory to another or my praise to idols. What's the impact of that, especially back then?
Oh, huge. In that ancient world, you had gods everywhere, idols representing them. God here is drawing a massive line. He's stating his unique identity, Yahweh the Lord, the covenant God. He's completely distinct from anything created, especially lifeless idols.
Right.
His glory is his essential divine power and nature. His praise is the worship only he deserves. He's basically saying, I'm the only real deal. All that worship you're giving the statues, it belongs to me, the living creator. It's a direct challenge to idolatry.
Staking his claim, basically.
Okay.
And then, building on that authority, he looks forward. See, the former things have taken place, and new things I declare. Before they spring into being, I announce them to you. This isn't just history, it's prophecy, right? Setting up an expectation.
Exactly. It signals God's plan is moving forward. He's sovereign over time. The former things might be past deliverances or judgments, but now something entirely new is coming. It builds this anticipation. Whatever the servant is fully going to achieve, whatever this global justice looks like, it's part of a bigger divine plan, moving towards these unprecedented new things that only God knows and reveals beforehand.
And that declaration immediately leads into this call for a global song. Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the ends of the earth. You who go down to the sea, you islands, all who live in them. Why a new song? And why call everyone, sailors, islanders, the whole world?
Well, a new song in the Bible usually pops up when God does something fresh, something amazing, a new act of salvation that needs more than the old standard hymns.
Makes sense.
Since God is declaring new things, and the servant's work is global justice for nations, light for Gentiles, hope for islands, the praise has to match. It has to be new and universal. Mentioning sailors and islands specifically pushes the boundaries, reaching the furthest, most remote places known then. It just hammers home that God's new work impacts everyone, everywhere. And the right response is worship from all creation.
Okay, so we have the gentle servant, the mighty creator, the one unique Lord, the promise of new things, global praise, and then bam, another image of God, and this one feels really different.
Yeah, quite a shift.
The Lord will march out like a mighty man, like a warrior. He will stir up his zeal. With a shout, he will raise the battle cry and will triumph over his enemies. Whoa. How do we fit this fierce warrior God with the servant who won't break a bruised reed?
That's one of the big tensions, isn't it, in this chapter, and maybe even in understanding God generally. The warrior image shows God actively fighting against opposition. His zeal is this intense drive to get things done.
So is he clearing the way for the servant?
Could be. Maybe his power is needed to remove the obstacles so the servant's gentle work can succeed. Or maybe it's God dealing directly with those who resist his will, who oppose the servant's justice. It suggests that while the servant is gentle to the vulnerable, God himself is a powerful force against evil and rebellion. Both aspects work together for ultimate justice.
Okay, both the gentle healing and the powerful intervention.
Oh, right. Two sides of the same coin, maybe.
And God himself seems to signal this shift, explaining maybe why the warrior comes out now. He says, for a long time I've kept silent, I have been quiet and held myself back. But now, like a woman in childbirth, I cry out, I gasp and pant.
Yeah.
What's that about? Moving from silence to, well, intense struggle.
It signals a major turning point. The period of divine quietness, of holding back, it's over. And that childbirth image, it's intense, isn't it? It suggests something powerful, inevitable, maybe painful is happening, leading to something new, like birth. It emphasizes that these new things, this warrior action, it's not going to be easy or quiet. It's an active, demanding, forceful process, but one that ultimately brings about God's desired future. It highlights the sheer significance of what's coming.
And the actions that follow this cry, they're huge, world-changing. I will lay waste the mountains and hills. I will turn rivers into islands. That sounds destructive.
It does, initially, like judgment against the old, opposing structures.
But then, right alongside it,
Yeah.
I will lead the blind by ways they have not known. I will turn the darkness into light, make the rough places smooth. That's redemptive.
Exactly. It's both. God uses his power to dismantle obstacles and to actively guide and transform. Leading the blind, bringing light, smoothing the path, these are acts of salvation. It's like the warrior God clearing the ground.
So the servant's work of opening eyes and freeing captives can fully happen.
Precisely. It shows God powerfully intervening to make his justice and salvation possible. And he promises, these are the things I will do. I will not forsake them. It's a guaranteed transformation.
And contrasting with that divine certainty, there's that sharp warning about the alternative. But those who trust in idols will be turned back in utter shame, a clear consequence for misplaced faith.
Yeah, it drives home the point about idols being worthless. When the real God acts, trusting in anything else leads only to humiliation. It reinforces that earlier claim, he alone is God.
Okay, now, here's where, for me at least, Isaiah 42 takes this incredibly sharp, unexpected turn. After all this talk about the servant opening blind eyes, freeing captives, God leading the blind, he suddenly turns to his own people, Jacob, Israel.
Gets very pointed.
And he says, here, you deaf, look you blind and see. Who is blind but my servant, and deaf like the messenger I send? Who is blind like the one committed to me, blind like the servant of the Lord? He calls them blind and deaf, using the same language for the problem the servant fixes.
Yeah, it's the stunning, bitter irony of the chapter, isn't it? The very people who were supposed to be God's witnesses, maybe even collectively the servant nation bringing light, they are the ones who can't see or hear spiritually.
Wow.
He continues, you have seen many things, but have paid no attention. Your ears are open, but you hear nothing. They've been exposed to God's work, his words, but it hasn't sunk in. They haven't really seen or heard.
So spiritual sight isn't automatic.
Apparently not. It requires paying attention, being willing to understand. This critique shows that the biggest barrier to God's work might not be external enemies, but the spiritual dullness of his own people. It highlights just how deep the problem is that the servant needs to fix. It affects everyone.
And the text connects this spiritual state to their physical reality. God wanted his law to be honored, great and glorious, but this is a people plundered and looted, all of them trapped in pits or hidden away in prisons. They are captives. How does that link to the servant freeing captives?
It makes it incredibly personal and tragic. The servant comes to free captives, and who are the captives? God's own people. Their plundered, trapped state isn't just bad luck or politics. The text implies it's a direct result of their spiritual blindness and deafness. They're imprisoned by the consequences of not seeing or hearing God. It just underlines how desperately everyone needs the liberation the servant brings, even those who think they're already close to God.
And the text is brutally honest about why they're trapped. It asks, who handed Jacob over? The answer, was it not the Lord, against whom we have sinned?
Ooh, yeah, direct link.
For they would not follow his ways, they did not obey his law. Their suffering is tied directly to their disobedience. And even then, they didn't get it. So he poured out on them his burning anger. It enveloped them in flames, yet they did not understand. It consumed them, but they did not take it to heart.
It's just a stark picture of how stubborn that blindness can be. Experiencing the consequences, the judgment intended as a wake-up call, and still not getting it, not taking it to heart. It really brings us back to the core issue the servant addresses, that deep-seated inability, or maybe refusal, to truly see and hear spiritual reality.
Which leaves us, the listeners, right where the text wants us, I think. With that final direct challenge hanging in the air, which of you will listen to this or pay close attention in time to come?
Yeah, it turns the mirror right back on us, doesn't it? So we don't make the same mistake.
So, wrapping up this deep dive into Isaiah 42, what a journey. We've seen this unexpected servant, gentle yet persistent, sent by the all-powerful Creator to bring global justice.
By opening blind eyes and freeing captives.
Right. And we saw God declare his absolute uniqueness, promised radical new things, even act like a warrior to make it happen. But then that gut punch, the irony that God's own people were spiritually blind, deaf, and captive themselves because of their sin.
Highlighting how much they, and maybe all of us, need what the servant offers. And I think what really stays with me from this chapter is that critique of blindness, that challenge it poses. Seeing isn't just sound wave, physically seeing.
Yeah.
Hearing isn't just sound waves. It's about paying attention, taking truth to heart.
Mm.
The text asks, essentially, who's really blind here, even pointing to those closest to God, which leaves us with a pretty vital question, maybe for you listening right now. In this world just full of noise and images, what are we seeing or hearing maybe about ourselves, our world, what really matters that we're just not paying attention to, not really letting it sink in?
That's definitely something to think about, a challenge to truly listen and truly see.